What's up guys, coming at you live from Pro Play Games, and we have a brand new deck profile for you guys. We actually were messing around with brand new concepts, something that really strayed away from Mecha Frieza. Mecha Frieza obviously has shown itself as a very dominant player in the metagame and already has so many different variants to it, but we wanted to try something a little bit different. We really did like the new Android cards and the new cards specifically that Green was offering to this new set, so we tried an old set leader, Cell, and we kind of combined it with some of the new pieces that it gave to the deck and the value that it was giving it as far as the super combo and some of the other intricate pieces that really gave it that push that I feel like it really needed to become one of those top performing decks. So for the deck we have Cell, the leader from Union Force. Set 2, when it came out, had a huge debut. Since then, after winning the first ARG regional, really hasn't seen too much play, but still a very powerful leader nonetheless. Has the ability for inherent board control on the front side by charging a card and destroying a cost 3 or less creature from your opponent's board. And then on the flip side, just being able to, without attacking and without pressuring your opponent, just being able to charge a card and return 2 cards immediately from the top. So effectively cycling through your dead cards, dead pieces, dead combo pieces, and searching those cards that you really want to dig through. And then also has the ability to remove threats by removing 2 charged cards. So all in one package, one of the best utility leaders ever printed in Dragon Ball Super. So this has actually come out to be the correct choice. We tried Androids too, it wasn't as good. This Cell leader did the job most of the time. By the way, this beautiful case, I know a lot of people were asking about it. You can't find it on the Pro Play Games Facebook store. We do have a few left. We've been selling so many, it's insane. But yeah, that's it for the leader. For the main deck cards, we have the one of the first cards in here is actually debuted in Cross Worlds, so the deck never had access to something like this. It's a turn 1 green card, so that's already makes it excellent. Dr. Giro's Evil Inventor, and it's able to search you the top 3 cards of your deck and add an Android card amongst them to your hand. So super powerful, adds the new super combo, it adds a really spicy Android that we're playing, and it actually adds the Cell Chain. So super powerful card. What the deck really needed as far as a 1-drop, because it didn't have any solidified turn 1 play other than Cell's Birth, but that gave it a lot of power. Next was the Terrible Creator Android 20. So this card you guys should be familiar with from Union Force. You play it, the auto is you search an Android and you add it to your hand. So you can actually add the super combo, and you can add you can add the well, Android in the name actually, so you could only add things that say Android in the name. So the super combo, you can add Cell, but it is a very powerful card. The only reason why we're not playing 4 is because it is 2 energy, and 2 energy in this meta particularly is just very, very heavy. So we wanted to lay off cards like that, but we're still playing it because being able to search a super combo in like any deck is just ridiculous. And then for the Android lineup, 17 and 18 is what we chose to go with. One of these is, yep. So 17 and 18 is what we decided to go with. Now we went with the new Dreadful Duos out of Cross Worlds. So for those of you who don't know what these cards do, they both have similar effects, almost identical to each other. And this one particularly, the Android 18, well, they both have critical. This one has, if you KO one of your opponent's cards with energy cost 4 or more, you can actually pay 1 green energy and summon its twin, the Android 17, from your hand. So for 4 energy, you can get 2 critical 1500 attackers that are androids. And that came out extremely useful for a lot of the matches that we were playing, especially against Mecha Frieza when they're down to 4 or 3. They never want to take a hit from these, so they always throw cards to stop these attacks. And then these cards paired up with the super combo can lead to a lot of cards being lost on your opponent's side. Then the Android 17 here, this one has almost a mirror reflection of the effect, but This one instead, for 1 energy, if you KO a card 3 or less, you can actually pay 1 energy and summon its twin sister from your hand. So either way you do it, it really just depends on what you have on board. These cards are very good because specifically with the Cell Leader, you can at a moment's instant just destroy, KO any of your opponent's battle cards, and then whichever one you're planning to destroy, you obviously summon the one that would be able to summon the other one. So if you're destroying something 4 or more, then you would summon, you know, 18, etc., etc. These were very powerful, and the reasons why we played these at all is because we are playing the Cell Chain. Cell Chain, everybody should be pretty familiar with. Cell Chain is pretty basic, just 4 of each of the pieces or evolutions. Now, in this deck, you're gonna see these evolutions a lot more. I was thinking about cutting them down, but because you see a lot more cards in this deck and you draw a lot more cards than normal Android decks, you didn't want to risk like seeing all 4 copies of any evolution here. Well, except for stage 1 is fine, but you know, once you get to these, you really don't want to see these ever in your hand, or else you're not able to actually successfully finish the chain, and you want to be able to resolve it at least once, sometimes 2 times. So you are seeing more cards in a normal Android deck, so you want to maximize on these. So just in case you draw 2, you're not completely done for, or it's not a complete uphill battle for the deck. Next, we have some utility cards. They're not really fit. They don't really fit into the theme of the deck as much, but this is something that actually works really good with this deck, just because it is an Android. It's not, you know, one of the Androids that we're used to seeing, but this is actually one of the new Mira cards from Crossworlds. It is Relentless Destruction Mira. This card is actually extremely good and efficient because it's only 3 for the Overwhelm, so that's very easy. Not that that's a problem with this deck, because it's very easy to get Overwhelm on, and you can actually play more Overwhelm creatures than just this, like we were at the start. We just had to cut some cards for some cards that we really wanted to play, and we ended up running out of space. Now, the Relentless Destruction Mira is actually extremely powerful when you pair it with the Perfect Form Cell. Both of these can make for a really devastating combination. Perfect Cell dropping your opponent's hand down to 3, and then Relentless Destruction Mira being able to drop your opponent's hand size down another, so leaving them with only 2 cards after the 2-card combo. And that's extremely powerful, especially when you're trying to put pressure on your opponent and you actually throw your super combo into the mix. With that, you can drop your opponent down all the way to 1 card in hand, or even 0 if you have multiple super combos. But very powerful card. It is an Android, so you can search it, and that's what makes this card so devastating in this deck. And if you have any more space for more Overwhelm cards, I would suggest the other Mira, the one from the expansion pack set that has critical. That way you don't give your opponent extra cards, and it also pairs very well with the Perfect Form Cell. But super powerful card. If we can play more, we would. Next for utility is the Stout-Hearted Android 16. Now this is a new card from Crossworlds, and it's the new super combo for green, but green androids specifically. So Mira cannot make use of this card, unfortunately, which is why we didn't really try Mira with this shell, because this super combo is actually really overpowered. It does give up the ability of being able to draw a card like the other super combos do, but this one actually flips it and actually makes your opponent just lose a card. So you are inherently getting that +1 that you normally get, but it's coming from your opponent, and this actually pairs very well with the amount of pressure that you're putting on your opponent's hand, because when you drop your opponent down to 3, dropping them to 2 or 0 or 1 with any combination of these super combos is just extremely powerful, and a huge tempo swing to the point where your opponent is playing with no hand, and you're able to take full control of the game. So this is a much more control super combo, and it's searchable, so you always want to abuse this card, and you find it very often that you go through minimum of 2 of these, most of the time 3, depending on how many you prize. But this is an excellent card, and what gave this deck another oomph, to say the least. Next is the Marshal Expert Tn. Now everybody should know this card already. If you're playing a green leader and you have no other way of self-awakening yourself with your leader's ability, which Cell has, you always want to play some combination of these TNs, especially if I mean, pretty much if you're green, because it does allow you to awaken earlier than normal. It's just a card that you always want to see as early as possible. You want to see that card normally by turn 2 so that you can go and play the TN, drop yourself down to 4, and then from there you should net a good amount of cards. TN netting you 2 cards, 2 on the flip on the Cell, and then charging 1 with Cell. So that's the bread and butter of the deck. We're only playing 3 because we do see a lot more cards than normal in this deck, and like we said, the space in the deck is very, very tight. So you can add another one, but the only problem with TN is it becomes significantly worse the later that you see it. And because of this meta that we're in right now, most decks are not really in the game of stalling you out. They're usually just attacking you and attacking you and attacking you, and very aggressive. So that's why we decided with only 3. Only 3 of those. Then for another combo card, we have Combination Attack Android 14. Pretty good utility card. We were playing 4 at the beginning, dropped it down to 2, but very good in removing your opponent's cards, especially in combination with Cell. This card reads, when you combo with it, your opponent chooses one of their battle cards and KOs it. So it is a 1 energy 5k combo, and this is actually really good at clearing threats and clearing your opponent's board, especially when they have multiple threats on board and your Cell can only kill 1. The only problem with this card, Barrier. So if Barrier wasn't around, this card would be even better, but for now it's only a 2 of, and it is searchable with everything in your deck pretty much. Next we have Furthering Destruction Champa. Champa is just something that I feel like you need to throw in today's meta, just because Mecha Frieza love staying at 2 and they love staying at 1, and when they do stay at 2 and they're smart about it, Champa is something that's really going to punish their plays, and it's something that's even better in this deck because you're dropping your opponent's resources down to 3 and then 2, and then you follow it up with a Champa, and the next thing you know, they have no defense whatsoever. So very excellent card in this deck. Next is Create Android. Create Android is a brand new card from Crossworlds, and this is a card that you really wanted. This was a huge push to the deck, and this is like one of the only extra cards that we play in the whole deck. This gives you an additional turn 1 in addition to Dr. Gero here, and it's very good because it fuels Overwhelm, it draws you 2 cards, and it lets you discard dead pieces. So if you draw those TNs late in the game, if you draw those big Cell combos that you don't need in your hand, this is a great way to cycle through it and see exactly what you need in the deck, and that's honestly one of my MVPs for the entire deck. And then finally, to round it off, the Speedy Surprise Attack. Speedy Surprise Attack is an Android exclusive negate, and this card is actually very good because it can technically get rid of 2 cards. Well, it can negate 2 attacks per se, because it does negate the first attack, and then it gives you the option of discarding a card from your hand to KO a 3 or less battle card. So it works with your androids that summon each other off KOs, and it's also just a very good card because it can effectively get rid of 2 cards, and it can actually just kill the card that you negate, or you can negate one and then kill another one that hasn't attacked. So this gives you the option. It's not meant like you don't have to discard a card, but having the option is always excellent. So that pretty much rounds out the deck. So that was the deck, and that's something that we've been messing around with. I've actually been able to play this in about 3 or 4 tournaments, and it's actually been working out really good. A lot of people have been asking me for the list, and it's something that I love playing because it's something different. And I was already bored with Mecha Frieza, so I wanted to play something that was, you know, straight off the path. And this has actually been performing extremely good. Very good matchups with Pan, very good matchups with Mass Saiyan. This deck actually had a really good matchup with Mecha Veggies, which is the Mecha Green version. And that matchup didn't really give us too much problems because we're able to board control very effectively, and the KOs are really no significance to our game plan. The only deck that actually gave us a problem was Mecha Apes. Mecha Apes is still something that we're trying to figure out main board answers to. There is the Absolute Attack Mira that you can incorporate into your deck that can easily just take out the apes and just have them not have a blocker. The only problem with that is that they can still have the Shigesh into Explosive Son Goku. So if you guys have any suggestions whatsoever, make sure you leave it down in the comments below. And if you like deck profiles like this, please let us know down in the comments. Thank you guys again for watching the deck profile. Really appreciate your support, and until next time, stay pro.